This is Mrs. Smith-Clemens, the Library Media Specialist at Elliott High School, and today I'm going to read for you from the book called Scythe by Neil Shusterman. It's part of a trilogy and called The Arc of the Scythe. And so this book I chose because it's a Michael Prince um, award-winning book, and so it's written very well written and engaging and adventurous. And so other books by Neil Shusterman have been very popular in our school library. So this seemed like to me a great book to read from as I enjoy his reading. So I'm going to start with giving the reading from the back of the book cover. Arc of Aside, Book 1, Thou Shalt Not Kill. A world with no hunger, no disease, no war, no misery. Humanity has conquered all of those things and has even conquered death. Now scythes are the only ones who can end life, and they are commanded to do so in order to keep the size of the population under control. Citra and Rowan are chosen to apprentice to a scythe, a role that neither wants. These teens must master the art of taking life, knowing that the consequence of failure could mean losing their own. They learn living in a perfect world comes only with a heavy price. Part 1, Robe and Ring. We must, by law, keep a record of innocents we kill. And as I see it, they're all innocents, even the guilty. Everyone is guilty of something, and everyone still harbors a memory of childhood innocence. No matter how many layers of life wrap around it, humanity is innocent. Humanity is guilty, and both states are undeniably true. We must, by law, keep a record. It begins on day one of apprenticeship, but we do not officially call it killing. It's not socially or morally correct to call it such. It is, and has always been, gleaning, named for the way the poor would trail behind farmers in ancient times, taking the stray stalks of grain left behind. It was the earliest form of charity. A scythe's work is the same. Every child is told from the day he or she is old enough to understand that the scythes provide a crucial service for society. Ours is the closest thing to a sacred mission the modern world knows. Perhaps that is why we must, by law, keep a record, a public journal, testifying to those who will never die and those who are yet to be born, as to why we human beings do the things we do. We are instructed to write down not just our deeds, but our feelings, because it must be known that we do have feelings, remorse, regret, sorrow too great to bear, because we didn't feel those things. What monsters, if we did not feel those things, what monsters would we be? From the Gleaning Journal of H.S. Curie. Chapter 1, No Dimming of the Sun. The scythe arrived late on a cold November afternoon. Citra was at the dining room table, slaving over a particularly difficult algebra problem, shuffling variables, unable to solve for x or y. Then this new and far more pernicious variable entered her life's equation. Guests were frequent at the Terranovas' apartment, so when the doorbell rang, there was no sense of foreboding, no dimming of the sun, no foreshadowing of the arrival of death at their door. Perhaps the universe should be designed to provide such warnings. But scythes were no more supernatural than tax collectors in the grand scheme of things. They showed up, they did their unpleasant business, and were gone. Her mother answered the door. Citra didn't see the visitor, as he was at first hidden from her view by the door when it opened. When she saw What she saw was how her mother stood there, suddenly immobile, as if her veins had solidified within her, as if, were she tipped over, she would fall to the floor and shatter. May I enter, Mrs. Terranova? The visitor's tone and voice gave him away, resonant and inevitable, like the dull toll of an iron bell, confident in the ability of its peal to reach all those who needed reaching. Citra knew before she even saw him that it was a scythe. My God, a scythe has come to our home. Yes, yes, of course, come in. Citra's mother stepped aside to allow him entry, as if she were the visitor and not the other way around. He stepped over the threshold, his soft slipper-like shoes making no sound on the parquet floor. His multi-layer robe was smooth ivory linen, and although it reached so low as to dust the floor, there was not a spot of dirt on it anywhere. A scythe, Citra knew, could choose the color of his or her robe, every color except black, for it was considered inappropriate for their job. Black was the absence of light, and scythes were the opposite, luminous and enlightened. They were acknowledged as the very best of humanity, which is why they were chosen for the job. Some scythe robes were bright, some muted. They liked they looked like the rich flowing robes of Renaissance angels, both heavy yet lighter than air. The unique style of scythe's robes, regardless of the fabric and color, made them easy to spot in public, which made them easy to avoid, if avoidance was what a person wanted. Just as many were drawn to them. The color of the robe often said a lot about a scythe's personality. This scythe's ivory robe was pleasant and far enough from true white not to assault the eye with its brightness. But none of this changed the fact of who he and what he was. He pulled off his hood and revealed a neatly cut gray hair, a mournful face, red-cheeked from the chilly day, and dark eyes that seemed themselves almost to be weapons. Citra stood, not out of respect, but out of fear, shock. She tried not to hyperventilate. She tried not to let her knees buckle beneath her. They were betraying her by wobbling, so she forced fortitude to her legs, tightened her muscles. Whatever the scythe's purpose here, he would not see her crumble. You may close the door, he said to Citra's mother, who did so, although Citra could see how difficult it was for her. A scythe in the foyer could still turn around if the door was open. The moment that door closed, he was truly, truly inside one's home. He looked around, spotting Citra immediately. He offered a smile. Hello, Citra, he said. The fact that he knew her name froze her just as solidly as his appearance had frozen her mother. Don't be rude, her mother said, too quickly. Say hello to our guest. Good day, Your Honor. Hi, said her younger brother, Ben, who had just come to his bedroom door, having heard the deep peal of the scythe's voice. Ben was barely able to squeak out the one-word greeting. He looked to Citra and to their mother, thinking the same thing. They all were thinking, who has he come for? Will it be me, or will I be left to suffer the loss? So that is from chapter 1 of The Scythe. So hopefully you'll be able to pick up that book and read this Scythe, the book 1 of the Arc of the Scythe series, and I'm sure you won't be disappointed. Enjoy and happy reading.